for the past 20 to 30 years, the World Bank has pumped close to $1 billion into various projects in the Urban 1, Urban 2, Urban 3, Urban 4, urban environmental sanitation, second urban environmental sanitation, urban roads, urban water, urban transport, easily $1 billion. Why is it that after all these years, we still have so many challenges? There is clearly a problem of governance.
Home to over 2 million people, Accra is one of Africa's fastest growing cities, boasting burgeoning shopping malls, housing estates, office blocks, and an ever-widening skyline. A busy and prosperous city. But it's also a city of chaos and dreadful disorder. A city of choked drains, congested streets, and overwhelming filth. A city of hardship, homelessness, and overcrowded slums. It's a city out of step with its citizens, says Farouk Brahma of the Ghana Federation of the Urban Poor.
What are the kind of prioritization that we have in our cities? It's about basic needs. It's about education, it's about sanitation, it's about jobs, it's about health, it's about housing. These are basic to everybody. So if you can't plan to meet these basic needs, then what are you planning for? People should be the focus of your planning.
This is precisely what the Local Government Act is all about. Introduced by the Rawlings government in the late 80s, its intention was to decentralize governance, devolving power and responsibility to local authorities or district assemblies, and give citizens a meaningful say in the development of their communities. Former Accra Mayor Nata Matefio remembers.
It was designed, so far as I understand, at a time when a new government was trying to spread governance as widely as it could. The government was, however, worried about keeping control of the whole organism. And so as much as it tried to spread authority and responsibility down the road, when it got to the top, it wanted to ensure that responsibility was in safe hands.
At the time, in safe hands meant deploying technically capable people to the assemblies to ensure delivery. So while citizens elected 70% of assembly members, the president himself appointed the remaining 30%, as well as the district chief executive, the mayor. 20 years on, the practice remains unchanged. Question is it still appropriate, and is it delivering on its promises?
I'm Janet Edu from Ashama, Tulaku. I've stayed here for about 25 years now, and we have a lot of problem here. Our drainage, our sanitation, like toilet. This community have about, let me say, 2,000 people, but we have only one toilet down there. So every day, all this community have to move from here, go and queue.
I mean, the stench here is extraordinary. I mean, these are the toilets. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 toilets for this whole community or something. And, you know, it's full. People are paying to use this. It's hard to stand here. This is, you know, it's unbelievable.
2 years ago, we had an assembly elections. We voted for a young man who happened to desert his post and then go to contest a parliamentary seat in the Volta region. So the local government structure does not exist in this community at all. And
Abu Haruna is a resident of Old Fadama.
The city authority doesn't even care where you live, what you do, where you get water, where you get electricity,
where you go to toilet,
where you go to toilet. What they're interested in is to come and collect their tax. Whether you steal the money to come and pay them their tax, that they don't care.
Even the struggling Kayaye pay tax.
The loans that we have been carrying, it's not a big money that they have been giving it to us. You can look at an example like this. He is selling it. They can give you about only 50 pesos. And that 50 pesos, they will come and say pay tax. They will collect 20 pesos from it. So if they collect 20 pesos, left with how much? 30 pesos. We don't know what they are using the money for. And we don't know what they have been using to do for us. And always they will be collecting it. And right now we don't have place to sleep.
Meanwhile, at the end, they take revenue from the people. What are they supposed to do with the people? Because they are supposed to use that revenue to fix the problems that we face in these communities.
What we know is Accra Mayor. But when they are in office, they don't allow people like we to come and express ourselves and see what is going on around. Because we don't put on ties, we don't put on coats, they don't regard us, but we are in the field, that we know what is going on. That's how it is.
Because the mayor is answerable to the president and not the people feel powerless. And according to political scientist Amos Ayimadu, the problem has deep roots.
The modern Republic of Ghana is a very reluctant republic. It's a reluctant republic in the sense that if you look at Ghana in a deep political way, actually we don't want to be electing a modern president. What we really need is a larger chief. And effectively that's what we do. So that, I mean, the president is actually the chief of chiefs.
The theory is borne out by the Constitution. In any modern democracy, there are three arms of government. The executive, that's the president and his cabinet, the legislature or parliament, and the judiciary. Each is independent of the other, ensuring a system of checks and balances against the abuse of power. But not so here. According to the Constitution, 50% of cabinet ministers must be sitting members of parliament, which seriously weakens the independence of the legislature. Then consider the fact that the Minister of Justice is also the Attorney General, which makes the independence of the judiciary equally questionable. According to a USAID report on the state of governance in Ghana, there is, quote, an excessive concentration of political power in the executive. This results in a lack of accountability, transparency, and responsiveness, unquote. So yes, indeed, the president is chief of chiefs with sweeping powers. The report of the Constitutional Review Commission is equally damning, saying patronage, nepotism, and cronyism are rife, and corruption remains a major problem, unquote. Kofi Chikata and Emmanuel Nkrumah of the World Bank.
When you look at the Constitution, the winner takes all nature of our politics, which has been, in a way, let me put it, mandated by the Constitution, is part of the problem. When you win, you and your party people, generally, you are in power.
You gain.
So why would there not be patronage?
We have the tribal setup, classmate setup, and we carry on down to the political level. So at the political level, we look for our various counterparts, tribal inclinations. And therefore, if you happen to be of the same tribe, as I am, or you happen to be within the clan or close family, I try to do you certain favors. So I think it is this canker which we are bringing from the tribal setting to that political level. And this is what is destroying us.
And the pattern repeats itself at local government level.
In the case of the chief, the people don't elect him. He comes by lineage or whatever, so he's king. The way they are going about our local government, they are making it similar, to a chief. Lineage in the sense that he comes from a party. So by the party, he's king. So it's like what he says is the law. That is where we are having our problem.
The fact that not only the mayor, but also 30% of all assembly members are appointed by the president makes a mockery of the notion of autonomous local government. Central government holds the balance of power in any and all decisions made. Former assembly member Jane Ameli.
The appointees come to the assembly with their technical minds, their technical know-how to help the assembly. But it's not really what is happening on the ground.
Why? I don't understand.
People are appointed to the assembly, I don't think on their technical advice. That's right. They come through the parties, you see.
So the party people are the ones who get these jobs?
Yes. So it is more like a partisan thing.
It has become governance by the party rather than government by the people.
And public participation, a fundamental principle of the Local Governance Act, seems non-existent.
We say we have local government with a big L and a big G. But really, if you want to do a proper political analysis, what we have is not local government.
How can you say that? All the structures are there, they're in place.
Do you think these district assemblies, they really have control of their districts? I mean, their main income comes from the central government. So is that really government?
Via what is known as the Common Fund, central government provides between 60 and 70% of district assembly budgets, again giving them substantial control. District assemblies are limited by law in terms of raising independent loans from banks, leaving them largely reliant on internally generated funds to boost their budgets. But little of this gets spent on communities.
And if these monies come, it goes into a pool. That is where assembly members' allowances and things come from.
So they don't use the money to sort out the problems of the community that they take the taxes from, but they use it to pay their salaries. Internally generated funds come mainly from the collection of local business and property taxes, and political interference is no stranger here either.
Government has a great deal of interest in what you do locally. Something like raising our rates is of immense interest to government. And part of our job is negotiating, navigating between the confines of what government feels is economically and politically appropriate.
So, for example, you can't increase the property rates because it would upset the people?
Unfortunately, that is a whole process of democracy. Government has to be sensitive to these things.
Because government wants to stay in power?
Well, certainly because it wants to stay in power, but also because it has its own agenda to execute.
Government gets away with this because people don't know their rights.
To a certain extent, you are right. People don't do their rights, don't exercise their rights, or feel that government is too big for them to challenge.
And each time you try to take a DCE on, you risk taking a government on. That is the challenge.
Okay.
So you see, when people want to take their DCs on, they want to demonstrate, they want to kick against unpopular decisions, immediately you bring the central government into focus. And I think this shouldn't be the case. There should be a situation where local people can hold their local electorates to be accountable without necessarily incurring or stepping on the toes of the national government.
For the World Bank, the solution is simple.
Let the people elect their own district chief executives. And then he knows that he has a term. At the end of the term, he has to come back to the people to render account. He will listen to the people.
If the mayor knew that his election is based on what people think about him and whether or not he's holding people below him accountable for not doing their work well, he himself will sit up. The election of the mayors and the district chief executives is a point that we cannot overemphasize. If we want citizens and civil society to have voice and to make sure that there is accountability.
And the people, it seems, agree. In its report to government, the Constitutional Review Commission itself recommends that the Constitution be amended to allow the people to elect their own mayors. But given that central government will lose control over local government as a result, one questions whether they'll act on the recommendation. Natamatefio has his doubts.
I certainly accept that what's happening on the ground is vitally important. But government also has a right to sustain themselves in power. And you don't do so by undermining your own hold.
But you do so by bringing development to the people. The government is also going to be a beneficiary.
That's on the understanding. That's the understanding that development by the people is congruent with the DC's agenda.
If he's not delivering, he'll get punished. And that's the beauty of democracy.
Well, it's a democracy in process.
Wise words from a wise man. Control of local government gives sweeping powers to the ruling regime, whether that be the NDC or the NPP. And they agree on the rules of the game. Parties in government have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo.
When the NPP is out of power, when they were out of power, they made a lot of promises about electing DCEs. When they got into power, they were very happy to conform to the rule, okay? And when the NDC came back, the same thing has continued. So I think it bears closer scrutiny.
It's a casino. I mean, let me tell you something. I mean, the most dramatic episode in our research for the USAID report about a year and a half ago, that we went to the MPP headquarters. Of course, now the NDC is in power, and a very senior talking about electing DCs, and the MPP guy was against it. I said, oh, no, let them take it. Let them take it. If we win, then bingo, we are in. So it's almost like a casino, you know? They just wait your turn, you get to the government, then bingo, you have everything. So it's a cartel.
Given the reluctance on the part of the ruling elite to bring about constitutional reform, what then will it take to bring about change?
The CRC really, I mean, I see it as a partly academic, disarms lens kind of operation. In terms of what you can do to change the situation, I mean, I must say, I would hugely discount so-called civil society. I'm a political theorist, and I think civil society is about the most abused phrase in development over the last 20 years. I think it's much more important for the political parties themselves to have clear visions about what they want to do.
Until they get into power and change their minds.
Even if they don't get into power, look at Free SHS now. Even if they don't get into power, it becomes a fork in the road.
Why are you so dismissive of civil society?
There must be lines of accountability. And all that I would say is that most of these so-called CSOs, they have clear lines of accountability. And we end up exercising power without responsibility.
I mean, isn't the problem really that people are just concerned about themselves? I mean, there is no civil society per se. I mean, in other parts of the world, for example, if an airport is being built where the community isn't happy with it, people would rise and they would stop it.
You hit the nail on the head. You see, in a sense, what I'm saying is that the new technologies of power, I mean, this old civil society organization out there, it's really, really old school. It's about 40, 50 years mentalities in organization. If you look at what happened in Egypt, it was not an NGO. I mean, we have new technologies of power which somehow relay structures directly to individuals. And that's what's going to happen. These intermediaries, they are on their way out.
Kofi Chikata of the World Bank disagrees.
In this country, things have evolved. Just like democracy itself is evolving, the civil society scene is also evolving. We used to have what we called NGOs, non-governmental organizations. That was the terminology we were using. Yes. We've shifted gradually to what we are calling civil society organizations. We have to see these organizations more in terms of representatives of citizens.
The time for people power is now, he says.
The role of citizens in making sure we get the best out of our cities is crucial. And we cannot overemphasize this one. If we leave things in the hands of authorities, most of who are just politicians, and we know politicians, they come and go, and most of them just take care of themselves, we will be taken for a ride. You have to assert yourself. You have to make sure that you get what is yours.
But Ghana has no culture of civic activism. People don't seem to know their rights, and there's a crying need for civic education, says Jane Amele.
Education is not going down. They think if you're an assembly member, then you are the father, you are the mother of the community. You are supposed to give them everything they want. People think this is government. It is not mine. I don't care. This is the work of the assembly person. Go and call the assembly person to do this and that. But if we all agree that it is ours, we should all get involved. We are government, so we should contribute. I think it will go a long way to help the assemblies.
You're calling for civic education. People don't even understand what the local government is there for, what their role is.
Even the MPs, people don't know their roles.
People don't care because they feel so powerless. You know, that's where empowerment comes in. You know, when you empower people with the resource and the knowledge and the data, which the Ghana Federation is doing now, then you begin to put them on the map of claiming their rights. For example, if I don't even know that the mayor has a responsibility towards me in terms of job creation, the district assembly must take care of economic issues now in the district. They are responsible for settlement planning, they are responsible for sanitation, for water. Now, once people begin to get the knowledge around this, they'll begin to agitate.
And building the capacity of ordinary citizens is crucial, he says.
We focus too much on the district assemblies and the national governments, capacity buildings. The development partners are spending so much on the national government. Our worry is that you need to build capacities of poor people and urban poor groups and local people from the grassroots. If you don't do that, then you would have a situation where you can continue to decentralize even to their bedrooms, but people will not be able to access it.
Here in Ashaiman, the Ghana Federation of the Urban Poor has made major progress.
They come to the community to encourage women there that you have slept long time, so you have to get up.
What began with 13 volunteers has today swelled to an army of over 1,000 people, helping citizens to not only know their rights, but to actively change their reality.
We've now organized ourselves, and we started solving these problems by ourselves. We can't do this thing all by ourselves, but we are now in collaboration with the assembly. Yes, we create a problem. We must be part of the solution, and we must solve our problem our own way.
Using money collected through community saving schemes and with the technical guidance of the local authority, toilets like these are springing up throughout the community.
You can't sit down and look forward for somebody you call government to do it. You need to take the initiative. And we are doing this to show the whole world that poor people in poor communities can be able to do it when given the chance.
But government has a responsibility too.
Because we are organized, we have a voice. And this voice stirs up the local assembly to hear us and also to see our need. Once we have the district assembly with us, we have the government here.
That's it.
We, the members of the community, have the eyes to see what is going on the ground. And we, the members of the community, have to take the challenge to the doorsteps of the DC.
But he can ignore you.
Maybe it is my tongue that puts you there. You have that conviction that if you do not do my will, by the next voting time, the same tongue will send you out. So when I talk, you will listen.
Democratically elected DCEs are a thing of the future. But if the people have their way and government is listening, it won't be long in coming.
It's going to take a groundswell. It's going to take a form of a movement.
Direct empowerment, if you want, and we have the technologies to do that.
Well-informed, empowered, and well-organized citizens. That's what it would take.
Yes, we need the masses, we need all that, but we need a visionary leader. So yes, I'll listen to the people. This is what the people want. Let's go.